Hello everyone. In today's lecture we will talk about MPEG 4. If you recall that MPEG 1 and MPEG 2 employ frame based coding techniques in which each rectangular frame is divided into macro blocks and then blocks for compression. This is also known as block based coding. Their main concern is high compression ratio and satisfactory quality of video under such compression techniques. And that's why MPEG 1 is a major standard for storage and retrieval of audio and video on storage media like CDs. And MPEG 2 is a standard for digital TV. And basically there is no interactivity among video components. When we talk about MPEG 4, it has a very different emphasis. Besides compression, it pays great attention to user interactivity. MPEG 4 departs from its predecessor in adopting a new object-based coding approach where media objects are considered as entities for MPEG coding. These media objects are also known as audio and visual objects, which can be natural scenes or synthetic. That is, they may be captured by a video camera or created by computer programs. So, if you see this scene, if we talk about MPEG 4, this video frame is composed of different objects, and these objects can be a background or clouds or sky. Another object is plane, and another third object is this hot air balloon. So when we talk about MPEG 4, it is composed of various media objects. It can be natural scenes like this one because it has been captured from video camera, and there can be synthetic scenes like if I add some text here or if I add some computer generated fly over here. So anything can be possible. This object-based coding not only has the potential of offering high compression, but is also beneficial for digital video composition, manipulation, indexing, and retrieval. This figure illustrates how MPEG 4 video can be composed and manipulated by simple operations. Like if we say this image or frame has three objects, one this glass, third bananas, and second banana, and third grapes. These will be divided into different objects, and it may be possible to manipulate these objects, like we have changed their size and position in this particular case, and also this. And it is also possible to insert new object or delete the existing one. So I have deleted this banana and instead I have added this cookie over here. So this is the benefit we have with MPEG 4, that is each content or each object of the video, it can be a audio, it can be a image, and they can be encoded, decoded separately they can be modified and they can be scaled or changed. So if we talk about the MPEG 4-bit stream, it has the following hierarchy. And since it's an object oriented based hierarchy, so these are the various components. So these are the 5 level of hierarchical description of a scene in MPEG 4 visual bit stream. Each video object scene or sequence, video object sequence, will have one or more video objects. Each video object will have one or more video object layer, and so on. This video object sequence is nothing but the video where each frame is composed of various objects. So this video object scene delivers the complete MPEG visual scene, and it may contain 2D or 3D natural or synthetic objects. The second is each video sequence has one or more many video object, which is a particular object in the scene, which can be of arbitrary shape corresponding to an object or background. As we have seen, like hot air balloon is one video object, and the background which contain clouds can be considered as another video object. Then we have video object layer, which facilitates a support for scalable coding. Now this scalable coding refers to the ability to only decode a part of bit stream and reconstruct images or sequences with reduced decoder complexity, reduced spatial resolution, and reduced temporal resolution. This is similar to what we have discussed in MPEG 2. Like we had a base layer on which a basic quality information can be presented, and when enough bitrate or resources are available, enhancement layers can be added for improving quality. So this is the layer which is used for this scalable coding. And this group of video object plane is an collection of various video object planes, and it is the optional layer. And the major or the unit on which we will be working in MPEG 4 is the video object plane, which is nothing but the snapshot of a video object at a particular moment. Now MPEG 1 and MPEG 2 do not support this video object plane concept, and hence their coding method is referred to as frame based. And since each frame is divided into many blocks from which motion compensation based coding is conducted, it is also called as block based coding. MPEG 1 and MPEG 2 codings are concerned only with compression ratio and do not consider the existence of visual objects. Therefore, the motion vectors generated may be inconsistent with the object level motion. and therefore would not be useful for object based video analysis and indexing. Now, object based video coding in MPEG 4 on the other hand is aimed at solving this problem, besides improving the compression. Here each video object play is of arbitrary shape and will ideally obtain a unique motion vector consistent with the object's motion. So, to explain what we have discussed in the previous slide, consider this figure, which here this part of the figure shows 3 frames from the video sequence with the vehicle moving towards the left and the pedestrian walking in the opposite direction. So, applying normal motion compensation based technique. So, this figure shows the typical block based coding in which the motion vector is obtained from one of the macro blocks, either previous frame or the next frame. Now, this part of the figure illustrates a possible example in which 2 potential matches yield same prediction error. Suppose this is the current frame, this is the previous frame. This block also matches with this block in the previous frame also matches with this block in the current frame, and this block in the previous frame also matches with this block in the current frame. So, I have 2 motion vector and I will calculate the prediction error. Suppose the this potential match 2 yields a slightly smaller prediction error than potential match 1. In that case, motion vector 2 will be chosen as motion vector for the macro block in the block based coding approach. Although we can see that motion vector 1 is consistent with the vehicle's direction of motion and not motion vector 2. So, this may not give us correct prediction of the object's motion, this block based technique. Now, in this figure, each VOP is of arbitrary shape. This is my VOP 1, this is my object 1 and this is my object 2. And I will ideally obtain a unique motion vector consistent with the object's motion, because now I am not considering the block. I will look for the motion with respect to these objects and therefore will get a better and unique motion vector which is consistent with this object's motion. Now, this figure shows a snapshot of a video sequence which is segmented into arbitrary shaped foreground objects. Suppose these are foreground objects and a background. It illustrates the scheme of content based encoding and decoding. The scene is first segmented into number of VOPs, each of which specifies particular image sequence content and is decoded onto a separate VOL. Now, if we don't want to modify any object, we can reconstruct the original video using all the VOLs. Now, MPEG-4 video object plane based coding also employs the motion compensation technique which we have discussed in MPEG-1 and MPEG-2. So an iframe coded VOP is called as IVOP. That means we are not considering previous or future frame or VOP information, and we have just the single scene. Interframe coded VOPs are called as PVOPs if only forward prediction is employed, or BVOP if bidirectional predictions are employed. That is from previous and future VOPs. The new difficulty here is that VOP may have arbitrary shape. Therefore, in addition to their texture, their shape must also be coded. Texture here actually refers to visual content, that is the gray level and the chroma values of pixels in the VOP. MPEG-1 and 2 do not code shape information since all frames are rectangular, but they do code the values of the pixels in the frame. In MPEG-1 and 2, this coding was not explicitly referred to as texture coding, but when we are considering their intensity values and the color values, it is called as texture coding. So basically, in MPEG-4 based video coding, we have three components. The major one is shape coding, motion estimation and compensation, similar to what we have done in MPEG-1 and 2, and the texture coding, which is also quite similar to previous coding standards. Now, to encode shape, motion and texture information in arbitrary shaped video objects, MPEG-4 defines a rectangular bounding box for each VOP. If we consider this image, this can be called as background or VOP1, and this lady is called as foreground. The lady can be considered as foreground or VOP2. So what we do is we define a rectangular bounding box for each VOP. So for foreground we have defined a rectangular box, and this rectangular box is divided into macro blocks. And macro blocks are by default 16 cross 16 pixels in size in case of luminance images, and 8 by 8 in chrominance images. Now both horizontal and vertical dimensions of the bounding box must be in the multiples of 16 if we consider luminance images. But it may not always be possible, so therefore box is usually slightly larger than the conventional bounding box. And this VOP image window is composed of macro blocks, as we have discussed, macro blocks of size 16 cross 16 pixels, which are, these macro blocks are of three types. The macro blocks which do not belong to the VOP at all. So these are the macro blocks which do not belong to the VOP. These are inactive or background VOP and are not coded in the video object layer. Macro blocks which partly belong to VOP. So if we see this macro block, it contains both foreground, this is the foreground information and this is the background information. This also, this is small foreground information and this background information, and similarly this. So such type of macro blocks are the boundary macro blocks, and which they require some special consideration during encoding, because as you can guess that if I can identify all such macro blocks, the shape of this VOP can be obtained. Now there are other macro blocks which are fully belong to VOP. They are not like partially present in foreground and partially in the background. So these are called as standard macro blocks for the VOP. Now these two categories of macro blocks are the active macro blocks, which play a major role in video object plane encoding. As already mentioned, encoding of VOPs has three major components, namely the shape, motion and texture. So let us first start with motion compensation based coding. So motion compensation based video object plane coding in MPEG-4 again involves three steps. The first is motion estimation, then motion compensation based prediction, and the coding of the prediction error or the residual image. So the standard macro block, so the standard macro block within the grid, these ones which are completely inside the VOP. So the standard macro block within the grid are motion compensated following the approaches adopted in the earlier two MPEG standards. However, a different approach is adopted for the contour macro blocks or the boundary macro blocks. So first, an image padding method is employed in reference for these macro blocks. So if you consider this image, so suppose these are the boundary macro blocks. These are the boundary macro blocks. These are the boundary macro blocks. So first, horizontal padding has been done. So I have just used the replicated padding method. So I have written 60-60 and here also I have replicated it. Here, since I could use 80 both the sides of 50, so I have taken average of these two and added padding with 65. Now after this padding, so this is the horizontal padding, and once we have done the horizontal padding, we can do vertical padding in similar way. So after this padding has been done, in the reference VOP, a polygon matching technique is employed, because now we have the intensity values for these border pixels. It is not like half black and half white, and some pixels have other values and some pixels are of other values. So once we have this proper shape, then this a polygon matching technique is employed for motion estimation and compensation. And this polygon refers to the part of the contour macro block which belongs to the active area in the VOP frame to be coded and excludes the pixels outside this area. So as discussed earlier, based on the motion estimation and compensation philosophy, three types of VOPs can be defined: IVOP, PVOP and BVOP, on the basis of if I have no reference frame, and or if I have predicting on the basis of previous reference frame, or both future and previous VOPs. Now, since objects in MPEG 4 are of arbitrary shape, encoding of shapes form an essential part of encoding. So one way, first of all, is to describe the boundary of the object, while the other is to treat the shape as the binary mask, as shown here. This is also called as binary alpha plane. So the approach that was followed by MPEG 4 was to encode the mask that represent the shape. So a bounding box is formed around the object of interest. Then this bounding box is divided into blocks as shown here, and then there are solid blocks like this one that belong to the object. So we have these blocks which completely belongs to the object, and also we have certain blocks which belong only to the background. So for the shape coding, we don't need to code these blocks, but there are also blocks which are called as binary alpha blocks or BABs. These are the blocks which contain both background and foreground or the object pixels. And again, this is a mask, so the object, let's say represented by 1 and the background by 0. So the question is how we encode this binary block which contains only zeros and ones, and especially these blocks which contain both zeros and ones. So to encode this, we use context based arithmetic encoding or CAE. So for context based arithmetic encoding, if you see this figure, this is the current pixel. Context here means the neighborhood. So if this is the current pixel or pixel into consideration, So these represents the context for this particular pixel which is present in the boundary BABs, boundary alpha blocks. Now in shape coding also we have two modes, intra and inter. In intra CAE mode, when only the target alpha map is involved, we take 10 neighboring blocks which are numbered as 0 to 9 in the same alpha map as the context. Now this 10 binary numbers associated with these pixels can offer up to 2 raised to power 10, which is equals to 1024 possible contexts. Now it is apparent that certain context, for example all ones or all zeros, appear more frequently than others. With some prior statistics, a probability table can be built to indicate the probability of occurrence of each of these 102 contexts. Suppose, it's just an example, suppose one context is this. Other context can be this. So this context appear more frequently as compared to this one. So with some prior statistics we can build a probability table which contains the occurrence or the probability of occurrence of each of these 1024 contexts. Now if you recall from arithmetic coding, it is capable of encoding a sequence of probabilistic single with a single number. Now each pixel can look up the table to find a probability value for its context. Now CAE simply scans the 16 cross 16 pixels in each BAB. If you remember, the size of BAB is 16 by 16. So CAE simply scans the 16 cross 16 pixels in each BAB sequentially and applies arithmetic coding to eventually derive a single floating point number for each this binary alpha block or BAB. So this was for intra CAE. The inter CAE is natural extension of intra CAE. It involves both the target and the reference alpha maps. For each boundary macro block in the target frame, a process of motion estimation and compensation is invoked to locate the matching macro block in the reference frame. Once we have established this thing, the corresponding position, we have the corresponding position for each pixel in the boundary BAB. So if you see this figure, it shows a context for each pixel including 4 neighboring pixels from the target alpha map. Target means the current alpha map or the current frame, and 5 pixels from the reference alpha map. Now, according to its context, each pixel in the boundary BAB is assigned one of these 512 probabilities. Now, afterwards, the same CAE algorithm is applied, and each BAB will have a unique code or can be represented by a single floating point number. So if you see the 16 cross 16 binary map originally contains 256 bits of information. Now compressing it to a single floating point number achieves a substantial saving of bits as well. So we have information of shape, and we have reduced the number of bits required to represent the border of VOP. So texture coding is to be performed on IVOPs or residual errors after the motion compensation in the PVOPs or the BVOPs. And for texture coding too, the shape, the macro block grid is used. So if you have this macro block grid, and suppose this is the VOP. So special adaptation is required for the contour blocks, and this is suppose my bounding box. So special adaptation is required for the contour blocks, that is the boundary blocks, where image padding technique is used, as we have seen earlier, to fill the macro block content outside the VOP. So we will fill that content with repetitive padding. So this is done before applying DCT in case of intra VOPs. And in case of PVOPs, we fill the region or the content, the value of the pixels which are outside this VOP are assigned or set to 128. Now this sprite coding is a very important feature of MPEG 4, which is used more often. So in video photography, it generally involves camera movements such as pan, tilt, zoom in, zoom out, and so on. And often the main objective is to track and examine the moving object. So generally background remains same, and we just need to track the moving object, maybe a person playing football. So I just need to track this moving object. So under these circumstances, the background can be treated as a static image, and this creates a new video object type, which is called as sprite, which is nothing but a graphic image that can freely move around within a large graphic image or set of images. So to separate the foreground object from the background, we introduce the notion of sprite panorama, which is a still image that describes the static background over a sequence of video frames. So if you will see, if we take this example, a person playing football, and we want to track the motion of this player. and background is more or less static with little changes, and we will stitch these images together on the basis of camera movement. Maybe the camera has zoomed in, zoomed out, or it has tilted. So on the basis of camera movement and small tilt, we will have multiple images of the background, and we will stitch these images and create a panorama, which is here called as sprite panorama. And for this you can use the projective transformation for stitching two images. So once we have this large sprite panoramic image, it can be encoded and sent to the decoder only once at the beginning of the sequence. Now when the decoder receives separately coded foreground objects and parameters describing the camera movements thus far, it can efficiently reconstruct the scene. So first we will send this sprite panoramic image, which is obtained by stitching images by applying warping or projective transformation. Second, at the beginning of video sequence, we will this image will be encoded and sent to the decoder. Now later, decoder receives the coded foreground object plus the parameters describing the camera movements thus far. So the camera movement can be like zoom, tilt, pan, like that. And with the help of these information, it can reconstruct the scene. So this is the sprite panorama, and which is created by stitching multiple scene, if you can see here. And by combining this sprite background with this person playing the pipe and with some suitable camera parameters, this image can be, or the video can be reconstructed. Now the sprite coding concepts can be extended to model based video coding for head and shoulder video sequences. Such model based coding techniques use a 3D wire mesh model of a human head and shoulder. A sprite image of a person is mapped onto the 3D surface to represent the texture detail of the person, which includes skin color and maybe some other details of the texture of the skin. Now both model and human face sprites are required to be sent by the transmitter to the receiver in the beginning, and subsequently for each frame only few parameters that represent the motion of person are to be transmitted. So if you see this example, so this was the 3D wire mesh model, and besides this we will also share the texture sprite of its face, and later there will be only certain movements, maybe she stops smiling, and maybe a change in eyebrows. So there are certain parameters which will change in subsequent frames, and that can be reconstructed easily. So actually we are sending just 2 to 6 motion parameters per frame, which are sufficient for excellent prediction of the face region. So this is all for MPEG 4, and keep studying and all the best.